Guy Sajer, The Forgotten Soldier. Imagine being 16 years old, half German, half French, and caught between two worlds. Imagine marching toward the Russian front in a gray uniform that doesn't quite feel like your own. Then imagine spending 2 years in hell, only to return to a world that doesn't want to hear your story. This is the true account of Guy Sajer, soldier, survivor, and a man forever haunted by what he saw on the Eastern Front. Born in 1927 to a French mother and German father, Sajer grew up in Alsace, an ever-shifting borderland between France and Germany. That meant dual identity, 2 languages, and when the war came, 2 allegiances. At 16, Sajer was drafted into a logistics unit of the German Luftwaffe. At first, it felt like an adventure. Uniforms, trains, pride. But what he didn't know, that uniform was a one-way ticket into darkness. In 1942, Sajer volunteered to transfer into the elite Großdeutschland division. It was a fateful decision. What followed was a descent into chaos, terror, and the brutal logic of the Eastern Front. He was thrown into the heart of one of the most horrific campaigns in history. Endless retreats through frozen mud, the siege of Kharkov, the horror of Kursk. Days without sleep, nights without warmth, comrades freezing to death beside him, others dying screaming. He watched friends vanish in artillery blasts, men who'd shared bread with him hours earlier. He learned how a man screams when burned alive. He learned how the smell of blood never really fades. And he learned the most terrifying lesson of all, how quickly a teenager becomes something else entirely. Something numb, something savage, something that forgets what it once believed. But even in that hell, there were moments of strange beauty. A silent snowfall in a ruined village. A letter from home that arrived 6 months late. A fellow soldier sharing his last cigarette. Sajer formed an unbreakable bond with his unit, especially with comrades like Hals and Lerner. They became his brothers. Not through blood, but through suffering. And that loyalty, he said, is what kept him alive. Not ideology, not patriotism, just the faces beside him in the trench. But as the German army crumbled, Sajer and his unit were forced into endless retreats. Town after town lost, hope collapsing with every step. Discipline faded, supplies ran out. The wounded begged to be shot. Frostbite blackened limbs. And Sajer kept walking. He no longer fought for victory. He fought to survive. By 1945, he was a shadow of the boy who'd enlisted. When the war ended, Sajer returned to France, a place that should have felt like home. But he was a German soldier in French eyes. His motherland didn't want his memories. His fatherland had ceased to exist. No one wanted to hear what he'd endured. He was a traitor to some, a Nazi to others, a ghost everywhere. For years, Sajer stayed silent. The war lived only in his nightmares. He tried to rebuild his life, tried to forget, but the memories clawed at him. And so, in 1965, he wrote. The Forgotten Soldier wasn't a book about strategy or glory. It was about pain, cold, hunger, cowardice, brotherhood, and fear. It told the truth no one wanted to hear, that war is not medals and speeches. It's dirt and trauma and wounds that never heal. Some historians criticized the book, questioned its accuracy, its memory. But veterans who'd been there knew better. They saw their own reflection in its pages. Sajer didn't claim to be a hero. He claimed only to have survived. And that survival came at a cost. In the years that followed, he lived a quiet life: illustrator, father, husband. But a part of him, he admitted, never truly returned from Russia. He once said, "The front is not a line, it's a world. And once you've lived there, you never fully come back." Guy Sajer died in 2022 at the age of 94. But his words remain. They remind us that history isn't just about nations. It's about memory, trauma, and the invisible weight men carry long after the guns fall silent. And that sometimes the deepest wounds are the ones no one can see.